Welcome back to Sacania the podcast. In this series, we are exploring Lancashire, and today I am joined by the wonderful Ros Jones, the founder of Wildlife Wellbeing Walks, a community interest company based in Lancaster. We began the walk along Lancaster's Quay, heading towards Freeman Wood, which is a reclaimed town green, rich in birdsong and biodiversity. Ros is a trained botanist and ecologist with a calm, friendly approach that makes learning about nature feel really effortless. As we walked along, we shared stories about the meaning behind the bird songs, how to identify bird songs, how to identify shapes in the different plants, and I learned so much along the way. Ros's enthusiasm and natural ability to explain and share and teach is infectious. We talked about Ros's journey from academia to running small social walks that support well-being and curiosity. We also talked about Ros's very exciting plans for the first ever Wild Roots Nature Festival, which is happening between the 13th and 15th of June 2025. So whether you're lacing up your boots or grabbing a cup of tea and curling up on the sofa, join us for this walk as we remember that we too are part of nature. Enjoy! Hi Ros.
Hi Sacania.
How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good.
So take 3 of our recording.
I know.
We'll nail it this time.
Yeah, I'm gutted we didn't get the grunty dog though.
I know, I'm really sad. The dog that had pig-like tendencies. So we are in Lancaster.
We are indeed, yeah.
And I was just saying that Cumbria was very cold and misty and miserly and wet and dreary. And as I drove down to see you, the sun came out.
Well, absolutely perfect, isn't it? You know, this is someone is shining on us today with a bit of sun coming, and it's breezy, but it's definitely nice weather for a spring walk, isn't it?
It is.
So,
yeah. And you can just, it's a little bit breezy, but actually the warmth from the sun is just lovely. Just what I needed, a bit
absolutely.
of vitamin D.
Bit of R&R.
Yeah. So where are you taking me today?
So we're starting on the quay in Lancaster, along the River Lune.
Yeah.
And so actually the name for Lancaster comes from the River Lune and the castle. So it's like a corruption of Castle on the Loon, essentially, Lancaster. So that's cool, isn't it?
That's really cool.
So we're going to go along the quay, and then we're going to go into Freeman's Wood, which is, as the name suggests, it's an old Freeman's Wood, and it was saved from development a few years ago by a local group, and it's now a town green. So it's a lovely little space.
Oh, cool.
And we should hear lots of nice bird song, and we'll see early signs of spring as we go along the way.
Oh, amazing. I can't wait. I can't wait for my education. So did you always live in Lancaster? Is this where you grew up?
No. So I'm a right southerner.
Oh, you are?
I'm from Kent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So long way north.
Yeah.
Always had a connection with nature down there, and then I sort of gradually moved west for degrees, and then I got as far as the coast in Wales, and other than getting in the Irish Sea, I could only really go north from there. So that's sort of I ended up in Lancaster, which is, I love it here.
Did you say degrees?
Yeah. So I did an undergraduate botany degree in Reading.
Okay.
And then I went on to Aberystwyth to go and do a PhD, which was kind of plant biochemistry and looking at pollution from nitrogen.
Oh, okay.
Because in a low nutrient habitat, you get invasive grasses and things coming in.
Okay.
So that's quite interesting from that perspective. But while I was in Aberystwyth, I did a lot of lifelong learning courses there.
What does that mean?
So it's kind of the sort of courses that you would do, perhaps if you've already done a degree or later in life and you just want to learn a bit more about a subject. And they had a lot that were related to field biology, so things like birdsong identification and plant identification and that sort of thing. So I really kind of honed my skills during that time, which was great. It was a really nice break from the kind of the really hard mental work of studying. So having that kind of outdoor time to really engage in the natural world in Aberystwyth, in that part of Mid Wales, is just stunning. There's just so many beautiful areas to go and explore, and really kind of interesting bird life and flora and fauna. So it was a really great place to be and to kind of learn a lot of that sort of thing.
Immerse yourself.
Really, so, and then when I was kind of looking for somewhere to put some roots down, having come to Lancaster a couple of times to do some bits of research up here during my PhD. Well, that's a big lorry. Having come up here a couple of times, I knew a couple of people, so a job came up, and I've been here for 14 and a half years now.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
It's
you like it?
I love it. Yeah.
What do you love about it?
It's big enough that everybody doesn't know every bit of your business, but it's small enough that you have really great connections with lots of people, and there's so many interesting links in Lancaster. Really interesting networks of people, and it takes a bit of time to get in and find those, but once you do, the world's your oyster, really. You know, and I guess because we've got a really research intensive university, and I spent a lot of my years up here working at the university. It's just, people are really engaged, really innovative, so there's lots of really interesting things happening in this area, and and you know, it's a beautiful part of the world, not far from the lakes, but you know, within 10 minutes of the city centre. We're almost out in the middle of nowhere, almost, not quite. There's still a few cars going past. So, and I just met so many lovely people up here, and
nice little community.
Absolutely. And it's much cheaper than living in the southeast as well, much cheaper. So
it's a win-win all round.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what does a botanical degree look like?
Gosh, it's a number of years ago now. So it's...
And also, follow-up question.
What
got you into it?
Okay. Well, I'll do what got me into it first, actually. So I've always been interested in wildlife. It's always been a comfortable place for me.
It's like from a childhood thing.
Absolutely. My mum apparently used to put me out in the pram underneath the trees, so you know, you couldn't get started much earlier than that, really. And then as I kind of went through my teens and my early 20s, I realised that there was something missing. And I never went to university sort of straight from school. I waited 6 years before I went. And at that point, my parents had really got into kind of bird watching, and and I thought, well, I'll do a degree that kind of gives me a bit more flexibility. So I was doing botany and zoology, but I must admit, I kind of didn't really like the zoology. It was very invertebrate based, and it wasn't really an area so much of interest for me. So I dropped that, much to my mum's. She was very upset that she wasn't going to get an ology. You have to be a certain age to get that joke. It was from the BT ads back in the day. She used to talk about an ology.
I see.
So
very good.
But I really loved the botany, and what I found really interesting was, so we studied all sorts of things, like evolution, ecology, but there was a lot of things around plant biochemistry that was really interesting. So all the kind of chemical compounds. Had a very colourful, quite old school lecturer who had a subtitle of plant biochemistry, or how to poison your mother-in-law, which was very much in jest, but you know, probably wouldn't be appropriate now. and not sure it was appropriate back then either, to be fair. And so I found that really fascinating. But then also the kinds of adaptations of plants to kind of defence, because obviously they can't just get up and move. You know, like when an animal has a predator, it can generally, unless it's disabled in some way, it can run away. Whereas a plant can't move away. So when something comes along to eat it, how does it manage with that? Mm-hmm. So got things like the brambles that we're walking past here that have got these really fearsome spikes on them. That puts a lot of things off from trying to graze on them. Mm-hmm. But then you have other plants that kind of develop these really noxious chemicals. But then certain insects then kind of respond to that, and they're able to cope with that. And then they sort of, some of them, so there's like a really good example of some the monarch butterfly in the Americas, that kind of takes on board the toxins, and it makes it poisonous as an adult. Then, as the adult butterfly, it makes it poisonous, and it makes the butterfly poisonous. And so you get like young blue jays that don't know this, and they kind of try and eat it and throw it back up again, essentially. And so it really puts them off. So they'll see that, and because birds are very they see in full colour like we do, in fact an even wider range of colour than we do. So it not only do they not eat the monarch butterflies, but then there are other butterflies that are coloured the same that aren't toxic, and they leave those alone as well. So it's like a mimicry. So all of these kind of interactions between plants and animals, I just found that really fascinating, and so it just opened up this whole new world to me. And as I say, and then once I started learning about different bird songs, and I knew a few from childhood because my parents were quite, always quite keen on it. So
we can hear one now.
That's a sparrow chirping away. So I knew.
I love that you can do this. This is like your superpower. I just love walking with you.
Oh, thanks, Sukanya.
And your knowledge of plants and everything is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
So thanks, Sparrow.
So sparrows, things like sparrows and blackbirds and song thrushes and chaffinches, those were kind of more common birds that I knew as a kid. But then starting to learn the ones that kind of come and visit in the summer to breed here. So that was some of the courses that I was doing when I was doing my PhD. It just opened up a whole new world, and then really learning plants. Instead of just seeing like a background of green now, I see individual shapes and colours and species. And I really tap into the diversity that's around. So like as we're walking through here, there's the lovely silvery bark of the silver birch trees. Which are not in leaf yet, but you can really see the buds starting to swell. And then we've got some elder here, so this is what is starting to come out into leaf a bit more. And it's got this things. No, this is the brambles, the long ones with the really vicious spikes
growing into my garden.
It's pretty tenacious.
We're in a war.
I mean, understandable in a garden, but no, behind that is the elder, so it's got this amazingly deep fissured bark. But that's coming into leaf now, and that has these lovely frothy white flowers on it, and then the berries in the autumn, the blackberries, the elderberries in the autumn. So so I just see this kind of real diverse world. But then once you get switched onto hearing birdsong, it never switches back off again. And so this world, like really, it completely opens up, and so any time I'm out on a walk, I can be really in my head about all sorts of things. And then suddenly I'll hear a bird song and I go, oh, that's a so-and-so. And it just stops me short and brings me back and makes me mindful. And then I kind of, everything else seems to just drop away again. And that's what I really love about being connected with nature, connecting with the seasons. We've lost so much of this, and that I find that really sad. And
so much of what?
We've lost so much of that connection with nature.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not surprising when we've gone from 80% of the population in the UK living in rural settings to 80% living in urban settings.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
In what time span?
100 years.
Wow, that's not
so
long, is it?
No. So from the 1920s to the 2020s, that's where we're at.
Wow.
And so, you know, it's not the fault of people living there. They don't know.
Yeah.
But really, you know, if we're gonna try and do anything for climate and nature crises, you know, the UK is one of the most nature depleted countries in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, it's really sad.
Because of development.
Habitat loss,
right.
Intensification of agriculture, pollution.
What does intensification of agriculture mean?
So where it would have been done, and you would have had lower yields in the past. So, you know, a lot of this results from the Second World War. Right. And again, it's not the fault of farmers. Mm-hmm. It's just how policy has gone.
Right.
And so, you know, hedgerows being grubbed out, old orchards being removed, lots of deforestation. Deforestation isn't necessarily down to agriculture, but or farming.
Yeah.
But that's a chiff-chaff that's singing there.
Oh.
It sings its name. It's just...
Oh,
chiff-chaff, chiff-chaff. Exactly. In unison. Nice. You've got to have these ways for remembering them, because otherwise... You know, there's so many different bird species. It's like, oh, how do you remember? So that one's a summer visitor.
Okay.
That's come all the way from sub-Saharan Africa.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, amazing. Or, well, has it though? So there are some, I don't think UK ones, but there are some now that overwinter. Yeah, so we get quite a lot of German chiff-chaffs all kind of overwinter in the south of England, black caps as well. So again, that's another African species that actually, are they sub-Saharan? Oh, now I'm questioning myself. They're certainly African species. Things like swallows and swifts, they're definitely sub-Saharan. Some of those come all the way from South Africa.
Wow.
But yeah, so as I say, we've got huge nature depletion in the UK, and I think some of that is probably connected to the fact that we have lost that connection with nature. So really, I guess what I'm all about is trying to help people to find that reconnection, and certainly, you know, I had a period of this, and this is sort of where Wildlife Wellbeing Walks came from, was that after the lockdowns, and of course many of us were getting out and doing more walks, and I was certainly one of those, although I was one of only a couple in my department that was, this was when I was still working at the university, that wasn't on furlough. But I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go for a 5-mile walk before I started my working day, just to kind of give me that, you know, that bit of sanity, really. Yeah. And absolutely, and then you meet people while you're out walking, and it's such a lovely area to be out in. But at the end of the lockdowns, so late 2021, I developed really bad RSI, so I had tennis elbow in both of my arms. Oh gosh. And it was agony. But I could get out and go for a walk, and it took my mind off of it. And it actually, because I was moving, it sort of, it helped to relieve some of the pain.
Change your body composition.
Absolutely,
like
position. Yeah. Because I wasn't able to
go down there for a
bit.
bit?
Of course we can. Yes, this is down right onto the river's edge.
Yeah,
and we're at fairly high tide, but we're not in any danger of being inundated.
No,
not today anyway. It does come right up and over.
Does it?
When it's on a really high tide, and especially if it's been like raining as well. So
beautiful.
But yeah,
it's stunning.
Actually, it's not fully high tide because it's just a little bit of the shoreline. Lovely.
There's something about being able to hear the water.
Absolutely.
Just
the lapping. Yeah.
Beautiful. Sorry, I didn't mean to break your flow.
No, that's absolutely fine. No worries. So I'd had this real pain, and getting out and going walking was just a really good way to take my mind off of that. And I got to the end of that winter, so early in 2022.
Yeah.
And I felt better than I had for many years in the winter. Now, part of that's probably because I wasn't working.
Yeah.
So there was no stress. And I'd had a proper, I'd been able to properly rest in the winter, which is, that's kind of what the winter should be about, us slowing down and kind of going inwards and going into a bit of a hibernation mode. And then doing more in the spring and summer months. But, the way that modern life is, that's not what we do.
Yeah.
But definitely having that nature connection through that time was really important. And I just thought, I'd like to introduce other people to this. And a friend said, people pay good money to, be led on a walk by you, Ros, because you've got so much knowledge. And I just really want to share that with people and kind of reignite that sense of wonder and awe and that
passion.
that childlike curiosity. It's amazing how kids will come up to you and go, look, I've just found a snail, or I've just found a ladybird, and they're so excited about that. And it's like, I haven't. I've not lost it, but a lot of people do, or maybe didn't ever have it. And I think we're really missing out on something.
And maybe some childhoods now are quite sterile, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, got another lovely chiff-chaff serenading us there.
Chiff-chaff.
Yeah. It's great. You're going to have gone away from this learning a new bird song.
My first one.
Hey!
I do find that your passion is infectious.
Oh, thank you.
And it's just really nice to share space with you where you are so knowledgeable. You get the it's accessible information. It's not like scientific words.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh, no.
No.
I mean, I did all of that during my PhD, but that was another lifetime ago. It's some of that's still there, but absolutely. I think if you make these things too highbrow, I mean, I also don't want to do it to kind of dumb down or to treat people as being stupid, because no one is. But but
making it accessible, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It, like, human somehow.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, we are intimate. We're part of nature, and we forget that.
We do.
But we are intimately connected with it, and there are ways in which we've used natural resources and oftentimes, unfortunately, overused natural resources. But there are some really interesting kind of social history connections that we have with the natural world, and I think it's kind of bringing those back to people and going, I didn't know that teasel, for example, which is a lovely wildflower you get on waste ground a lot, and goldfinches come in and eat the seeds.
Oh, okay.
But it's kind of quite spiky. So it's in like the same family as things like daisies and thistles.
Right.
It's not quite as spiky as thistles, but it has got these little hooks all over the head where the flowers are, and that was used to kind of tease out the wool, and so that's where the name comes from. Tease wool, teasel.
Oh, okay. And it's great to get the sort of history of the words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I find that sort of side of things really fascinating, and but it's not just our connection with that. It's then how its place in the habitat and in the environment, and to understand that each species has come on a journey. Oh, I'm going to stop myself there because. So we've got some egg casings here. So this will be from a species of. It'll either be a shark or a ray.
What?
I can't. Oh no, it's not. It's dog whelk egg casings. That's it.
Dog whelk.
Yeah, dog whelks. So they're like a water gastropod, snaily type thing. Yeah, dog whelks. Sorry, the other ones is like where you get like the mermaid's purse.
Okay.
Have you ever seen those before?
No,
okay. So that's where you get sharks and rays in, and they're kind of like, it looks like a piece of seaweed, but it's like a rectangular or square shape.
Yeah.
And then it's got kind of these tendrils that come off of it, and that they attach it to bits of vegetation, but it does, so it kind of, like kelps and things in the water.
Oh yeah.
So it resembles the surrounding and camouflages them while they're developing. But so that's dog whelk casing, that's really cool. So that's the kind of thing that you see because the loon is is a tidal it's a tidal river.
Right.
So it's not that far out to Morecambe Bay, but as the tide comes in, because the casing of the dogwelk, so it looked a bit like polystyrene, didn't it, really?
It did, yeah.
That will have kind of come up and it'll have blown in on the wind because it's so lightweight. So it can come quite a way in.
That's awesome. And I can see that you're constantly looking around. I'm just walking like almost blind.
Yeah. But I think this is stuff. Actually, and this is where I think we lose out a little bit, because and this is where there's a lot of evidence now that time spent in nature is really good for us.
Yes.
But it's even better for us when we connect with it.
Right.
I've come the wrong way here, haven't I?
Oh, you have. How did you get up there?
It's more, how did I get down with such little legs? So
welcome back.
Thank you. Ooh, the path less trodden. So if we can connect with it, and you don't need to know what all the species are. That's. But I think if you can recognise that there are different species in front of you, and kind of just absorb that a little bit more, it just makes the experience that much. It's part of the 5 ways to well-being, isn't it? It's like connect, it's learn, it's be active, take notice, and then give back.
Oh, okay.
So we can come to the give back later, but I think while we're just here, I've just noticed. So we've got blackthorn in flower here. So it's these lovely little starry white flowers on quite dark branches. So and there's 2 species that are quite similar. So there's blackthorn and then there's hawthorn, and so blackthorn, you get the flowers come first, and you can just see the first leaves are starting to kind of come through now, but it's very much in flower. And then you get hawthorn, and the leaves on the hawthorn and the blackthorn look very different, but the flowers look very similar. And so people often get muddled between the 2. Now, is that hawthorn over there, or is that something else? No, that's something else. So hawthorn, but I mean, the colour of the leaves that we're seeing there is very similar to the colour of the leaves on hawthorn, but the shape of them is quite different. But hawthorn comes into leaf first, and then it flowers. Okay. So you'll see the green leaves with the white flowers on top. So that's kind of how you tell that. So it's all of those sorts of little things. This looks more like hawthorn. Let's just check I'm right. Yes, this is hawthorn. So the edges of the leaves are quite serrated. Whereas on the blackthorn, they're entire. So you kind of get to learn these things, but they, as the names suggest, they both have quite sharp thorns on, and again that goes back to the thing of protecting themselves from things coming along and eating them. And so, how long did it take for you to get comfortable with and confident that you could remember these things, recall them? So I mean, there's all sorts of ways that you can kind of help yourself. So when I did it and was studying, it was very much learning about for plants, which I think is that much harder. It was about learning the plant families, and then kind of from that going through plant keys and getting down to individual species, and so I've got retention of a lot of those species, but there are some that I still don't really know, and I have to go back and look those up, and But for things like, but there are lots of apps out there. I mean, I would always kind of urge a bit of caution with those, because they're not 100% accurate. Some are better than others. And so people can use those if they're trying to kind of identify something and they want to at least get to close to the right species. At least get the kind of the family right. They can use those, but there's also some really good ones for birdsong, for example. So there's some really good free ones. So there's the Merlin Bird ID app. Somebody was mentioning another one to me the other day, which has gone in and gone back out of my head again, I'm afraid. But we can always provide a resource list if people are interested. So, there are ways to get to know them. And what I like about these things is, even I still need to use them. every now and then. And there's always questions that come up that I don't know the answer to. And I love that because, you know, I love the mystery of the fact that we can't possibly know everything. We don't know everything. And I certainly don't, you know, I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And I love it when a question comes up that I don't know the answer to, because I'll go away and look it up and I find I'm still learning. And I just love that aspect of it, that, you know, there's always something new to learn. And I love getting people's differing perspectives on it. You know, that they see something that that I've not, and you just get a different way into something, and it's like, I'd never have thought about that myself, and somebody's just asked me something really interesting. It's like, oh, that's really cool. Well, where can that lead to? So I think it's always that thing of discovery. Absolutely, it's great to get a different perspective.
So how did you go about setting up your business? Is it
Wildlife Wellbeing Walks.
Wildlife Wellbeing Walks.
Yeah, I like a good bit of alliteration. I studied English literature for A level, so and biology and business studies. So it's kind of it's come full circle, really.
It was always your thing.
It was a really weird combination at the time, but it's kind of it's come back. It does, absolutely. There was a reason for it. What was the question again? I've completely. So how did I start? So as I say, at the end of like this period of RSI, and somebody had said to me, and so actually this is the route that we took on the very first walk, and it was in February 2023, so 3 years, just over 3 years ago. And it was blowing a hoolie, and it was chucking it down with rain, and it was a few friends, so we cut it a little bit short, and went back to mine for a hot drink. But from there, I just started chatting to people about it, and a friend recommended the Growing Club in Lancaster. And so that's an organisation that I now work for in my day job. We do employability and entrepreneurship training for women, and they have a business startup course, which back then was called Roots and Shoots, which resonated hugely with me. And so I did that for a year. And then I had a mentor, which was part of the course. You get a mentor for free for a year after that, so once a month.
Amazing.
And so that's really helped me to kind of focus in, kind of get my visioning, which I think was relatively clear from the start. But it's amazing how just focusing in on that, you know, who my ideal customers are, and and where I wanted to go.
Where did you land with that?
Say again.
Where did you land with your ideal customer?
I'm probably my ideal customer, but with less knowledge.
I love that.
So you know, professional working women who maybe they have children, maybe they don't, or maybe slightly older and kind of getting on towards or in retirement, but who either want to kind of get back some of that time in nature, learn a bit more, or really to kind of give themselves a bit of time and space to relax and unwind. And you know, there's this, we're so switched on all the time, and I do it myself. Sit there doom scrolling, you know, have the television on and I'm looking at my phone, and it's like, what am I doing?
So much stimulation, but nothing's going in.
Exactly. And as I sort of was saying before, that you know, we know that time in green space is really good for us. It's really soothing for our minds, and it's because there's a level of concentration, especially if you are doing that kind of connecting with, engaging with, learning about. But it's actually really restful for our brains. And what they find is that, you know, time spent connecting in nature, it improves memory, concentration, creativity, productivity. So it's great for us. So and it really reduces our stress levels. So it, you know, helps to kind of reduce cortisol, and can help us kind of go more into the, it always sounds the wrong way around. So the sympathetic nervous system is where we're high cortisol, and it's kind of our ancient brain that is the fight or flight mechanism.
Yeah.
So that if, we were being chased on the savannah by a lion, you really need those things to kind of get you moving and get you out there. But unfortunately, now what we have is, we get a grumpy email from someone or something kind of triggers us, and that cortisol kind of builds up. The stresses that we have from everyday life, from being constantly switched on, and we end up with kind of a continually high level of cortisol, which is really bad for us. It kind of can contribute to weight gain, and it can really impact negatively, so particularly for women, the weight gain, especially menopausal women. And it can have other really damaging physiological and psychological, and mental effects on us. So anything where we can kind of come away from that and just have a break from that, and so that's why I really wanted to kind of target those women of my kind of age that are kind of starting to come into perimenopause and menopause, and dealing with that on top of all the other things that they're dealing with in their lives. Was kind of the aim. Really was to kind of come and just have a bit of a breather, really.
No, that sounds nice. So just back to the walk. This is beautiful. Isn't this stunning?
It's absolutely lovely. And in fact, we've walked past my favourite tree.
Oh, have we?
Yeah, we're going to have to go back. We've got to go back. Because I was deep in conversation. But as we walk back, so on the right here, we've got some lesser celandines.
Lesser celandines, is that the yellow thing?
That's the yellow flowers.
The yellow things.
The yellow things, they're flowers. They've got these lovely heart-shaped leaves.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look at the petals closely, they're kind of slightly shiny. So they're in the buttercup family.
Oh, okay.
So if you think of buttercups, when you used to pick them and put them under your chin to see whether you like butter or not. Well, you could do the same thing with a celandine.
Oh, okay.
They just don't grow near cows.
Oh, okay.
These are more of a woodland species. That was a jackdaw going over.
Wow. This is so impressive.
I feel like a show-off, though.
You're not at all, not at all. I love it.
Yeah, so...
I just walk past these flowers going, oh, yellow things. But there's such green.
There's such a joy, though, because this is like one of our earliest flowering natives. So we obviously we think of springtime as being things like crocuses and daffodils, and whilst there are native daffodil species, the vast majority that we see are ones that are planted, that have come in from elsewhere. Tulips as well, they're not native. So in terms of like early native flowers, it's things like lesser celandine, dandelions, daisies, and often things that people think of as weeds, and it's like, well, it's that old adage of weeds are just plants that are growing in the wrong place, and it's it's us that says that they're growing in the wrong place, but that's a bit. That? Well, exactly.
Who decided they're ugly?
And they're really important because when you get the bumblebee queens emerging at this time of the year, they need food because they've been hibernating all winter, so they need the pollen and the nectar. So these are really important little ones. So I've got a little patch of these growing in my front garden that have self-seeded, and I was delighted when I first saw them. I was like, yay, they'll come to me. This is the tree. So this is how.
Let me get a picture of you with the tree. I'll do it in a second.
It's a very beautiful, it's a black poplar. So this is quite a rare species now in the UK.
Right.
So black poplar is one where you have a separate male and female tree.
Right.
So a lot of flowers have both the male and the female organs in the flower. Okay. So the lesser celandines that we were looking at, they've both got like the stigma, which is where the pollen gets lands basically, and then there's the ovaries are lower down, so the kind of the pollen grows this tube, and then it fertilizes it, and so that's all in one. But there's various mechanisms so it doesn't pollinate itself.
Oh, okay.
So cross fertilization is much more successful for keeping genetic diversity, so that you don't get prone to diseases and mutations and things. So but you get some plants where you get so you might get them like, as I say, with the lesser celandine, which is like a hermaphrodite flower where male and female are in the same place, you might get them where you get separate male and female on the same plant, and so that's called monoecious. So that comes from the Greek meaning one house. So for example, a lot of trees that have catkins, they'll have like male catkins and female catkins, or a variation thereof. And then you get dioecious, two houses from the Greek, and that's where you get a separate male and a female plant. So the black poplar is that way. And if you don't have them close enough together so that they can pollinate, then you lose out. And there's a, and I can't remember which way around it is. I think it's mostly male black poplars with very few female. And they're not close enough to each other to. So this is very special. It's very, very special, and it's. I mean, the bark is just incredible. And I do quite often come and give it a hug. Oh, do you? I do. Yeah. Well, there's something in that.
There is. Yeah, I've read about that.
So. Either going barefoot on grass or kind of laying your hands on something like a tree, it is physically grounding for us. So we talk about grounding. People talk about grounding quite a lot, but electrically grounding. So all of our cells are made up of atoms, and every atom has a different charge on it depending on, what it's made up of. But those can kind of go a little bit out of whack, I think, and so if you put your bare feet onto grass, you can see the charge just drops, so it literally grounds us. So I don't fully know the science to it. I'm going to be completely honest, but you can get static build up and everything, and doing that, it literally kind of it neutralizes. So. And I've done it, and you can just feel something change in you. Feel tension and stuff dropping away. And even if it was only a psychological thing, it doesn't matter, does it? If you feel that effect from something, that's really positive. So,
oh my lord,
we have a
duck.
Indeed. So that's a pair of mallards. Beautiful. Just in the little ditch along the side of the wood. It's a complex world out there, and I think that's what I love, is just there's so much complexity, and it's endlessly fascinating.
It really is.
And that, there's always something, as I was saying before, there's always something new to learn.
So where do you see wilderness,
wildlife wellbeing walks?
I keep trying to say wilderness wellness walks. Wildlife wellbeing walks. Where do you see it developing? What are your thoughts?
Well, so a couple of years ago, after I've been doing this for a few months, I said to somebody, do you know, Lancaster does festivals really well, but we haven't got any kind of nature or green festival. And she went, great idea, Ros, go for it. Yeah, exactly. So, it took me a while to build my confidence up, but over the last year and a bit, have been developing Wild Roots Nature Festival.
Wild Roots Nature Festival.
Yeah, so that is coming this June, 13th to the 15th of June. And I'm so excited because I think it's a way to tap into a larger group of people. I think the walks is wonderful, but it's hard to promote that to people if they don't know you. And so it's quite slow going. People are struggling for money, and I think there's perhaps a bit of an attitude of, well, why should I pay to go out on a walk with someone when I can go and do it for free? And that's fine. I completely get that, but I think with the festival, the idea is that we're providing some walks. We're going to be providing all sorts of other activities for people to get involved in creatively, through exercise, a whole range of at different locations. So Freeman's Wood is going to be one of the locations. And if by providing that for free, it just makes it a bit more accessible for those that are struggling. And where people can, we'll ask for donations, absolutely. And it might just be that people don't aren't really sure about that direct connection that you get from going out on a walk and learning about the species. But actually just being out in nature, and maybe, so we're going to have some Tai Chi, and we're going to do some creative writing up at Claver Hill. So those different ways of tapping into it through those creative or exercise just gives a different opportunity for people to be outside and appreciating what's around them. So that's kind of, I'm really excited. I've got a really great working group of people that have kind of come together with me and volunteering their time to support this, and been trying to do some work with some local organisations. So I've done some work with the fabulous Escape to Make in Lancaster, so they provide creative outlets for young people. Hoping to go and do some work in schools. So I kind of, this wasn't what I'd envisaged. When I said my ideal customer was me, I don't have children myself, so there was some nervousness about working with young people, but I'm finding that incredibly rewarding, and I think, perhaps going forward there'll be more of that sort of thing, more of that kind of outreach in the local communities, and using that work to help contribute to future years of the festival, I think, and grow it bigger and wider. It
feels like the start of a legacy, to be honest. I think it's just so well needed. And to do it in such a community-spirited manner. And hopefully infect other people with your passion. It sounds wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I mean, that's what I hope is for it to kind of, it's that thing of, I can reach one person maybe on a walk who then goes and shares what they've learnt with somebody else, and then they share it with somebody else, and it's that kind of where it you don't see all of the ways in which it's spread and how people have learnt about something, but my hope is that more and more people learn to appreciate, love, respect nature. So it's very important for myself and others on the working group that there's an element of responsibility about going out into nature. There's lots of horror tales from lockdown of people leaving litter and accidentally starting fires and being a bit, through a lack of knowledge.
I was going to say, not educated.
Kind of disrupting farmers and, parking in front of farm gates and stuff. So, we'll include elements about the countryside code and give people some ideas about how they can do something for nature. We've got goldfinch singing now.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. It's just lovely.
I love that.
And actually, people think, it's going to be really expensive to kind of live a life that's more environmentally friendly and to cut my carbon footprint. But actually, there are really simple things that people can do that, like, actually, it feels like you're being lazy. So, like, if you leave a bit of an untidy patch, if you've got a garden, if you're lucky enough to have a garden, if you leave a bit of an untidy patch in your garden, you let a few weeds grow, you kind of have a bit of a pile of sort of decaying. I don't know, if you've cut some shrubs back, you can leave the twigs and stuff, and that forms a little bug hotel for free. There's some really good things that you can do like that. There's some.
This is good. We don't want to go for
absolutely
full perfection.
No, and full perfection's exhausting. It's just not. It's not real. There's no such thing.
I've just got plant pots, and they are not full perfection at all.
No, and you can plant some lovely bee friendly or insect friendly plants in there that you'll love as well. And and maybe they don't look as neat and tidy as some of the things that we've been expected to believe, but then you get the benefit of supporting these insects. And so that thing I said earlier of the five ways to wellbeing, the giving back. So you can give back by doing nothing. And it's just like, that's like, my mum, my dear mum, who's no longer with us, but she had a T-shirt that said, "I'm not a lazy gardener, I'm a conservationist." And I just love that, because it was like, you know, it shows that you can do something and it doesn't have to cost the earth. And, you know,
and less is more in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. You could have a...
Don't strip everything back.
No, absolutely.
Unless they're brambles and they're growing new shed.
Yeah, that, I mean, you know, you know, within reason, right? Because if you can't get in your shed because it's covered in brambles, then how, you know, I get that completely. The brambles come out of my front garden because they are really vicious as well, the ones I've got. But there are other things, you know, and it's like, well, you could do a meat-free Monday. If you know, that would help cut your carbon footprint. It's cheaper. It's cheaper eating plant-based. It's not to kind of dictate to people. It's just ideas and suggestions.
So just to recap the 5, what were they again?
So the 5 are connection. Oh God, now you're testing me.
Sorry.
Give back. Keep learning.
Keep learning. Connection. Keep learning. Give back.
Give back. Connection. Did I say connection already? Oh my God! Right, hang on. I've got to go back to the start of these. So connection. Keep active. Keep learning. Give back and take notice.
Take notice.
Take notice.
So I think the take notice bit is definitely achievable.
Absolutely.
Maybe there needs to be a 6th one of get curious.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the curiosity kind of comes with the taking notice and the keep learning. So it's maybe that connects those two. Yeah. You know, because everything's connected.
I just like to add value.
Yeah. These aren't my 5 ways to well-being. These are just... yeah, absolutely. Well, why not? You know, I mean, I think, you know, I was having a chat with somebody recently and he was saying, you know, there's another school that says there's 10, and don't ask me what the other ones are. So, but yeah, curiosity is absolutely, and that's, you know, kids have so much curiosity. They're so in the moment, and you know, again, we do. Yeah,
it's really sad.
It is.
Why do we lose that? I mean, that's not for now, but...
No, I think we get bogged down in, you know, the realities of adulting, and let's kind of, you know, and that's what I want, is people to regain that sense of wonder. And I think, you know, parents that do have, that sense of wonder and just sheer joy at the, you know, oh my God, this is amazing. So we're coming out now into the middle of Freeman's Wood. So this is the area where we will be holding the festival, and it's great because they've, having saved this from development. I mean, God, how awful would this have been to have had this all developed? So they've purchased the land now, so it's held in trust. And they've raised funding to. So it's protected. It's a town green as well. So that gives it. Yeah.
Sorry,
no, that's absolutely fine. We've got a robin. Can you see it just up there?
So it's singing hi to us. Hello.
Well, what he's really doing is going, "Come on, ladies, look at me. I'm really fit. I'm really beautiful.
I'm ready.
Listen to all the variation in my song," and saying to all the men, "This is my patch. Stay away."
Wow.
Because that bit sounded quite angry, didn't it?
Yeah, that did.
So, I've got a butterfly. Amazing.
What? Oh, wow.
Oh, so that is a comma butterfly. So could you see that it had quite scalloped edges on the wings? But the name comes from the fact that it looks like it's got like a comma shape on one of the markings. Looks like a comma. Wow. So that will have overwintered.
Yeah.
Did
you say that would have overwintered?
Yes.
What does that mean?
So as in it was
a whole new language.
Okay. So that will have been an adult, like late summer, early autumn, and it would have gone into hibernation over the winter, so it would have found somewhere. And so you can imagine that that's quite precarious. And a lot of them, that was a crunchy bit of stick. And a lot of them won't survive the winter, so they might be found by something and munched on, or they might, you know, they might get somewhere that gets damp and they go mouldy or something. But they do have, you know, ways of preventing themselves from freezing, and It's, the
clever,
chemistry.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's
How
amazing.
do they do this? How do they instinctively know this stuff?
Well, it's just in their. It's just in their chemistry and in their, it's all instinct.
I guess we know when we're hot and cold and wet and dry.
It's not really a sentient thing. It's just an inbuilt thing that it does physically. Yeah. So that's a really interesting, again, perspective on it, because I'm like, well, I just know this. Well, it's like, but when somebody says, well, how do they know? And it's like, well, it's not a conscious thing. It's they
just know. They're born with it.
Yeah, it's in their genes.
Because there's things that we know, but we read books and we teach ourselves.
Yeah, but there is. So we've got a queen bee here. So that's a red-tailed bumblebee. Can you see? It's mostly black, but it's got a lovely. Yeah, it's got a lovely rusty. It's got a rusty bum.
Booty.
Very beautiful. It's lovely. I just love seeing the bees.
They just kind of dance around, don't they? They're really nice to watch. As long as they don't come near me, I'm all good.
Yeah. I mean, it's very unlikely that you'll get stung by a bumblebee.
Yeah.
Or a honeybee. I mean, really, you'd have to be like close to squishing them.
Yeah. For
them to want to. Wasps late in summer. But
wasps are horrible.
Well, but they are really, really important in our ecosystem. So, they perform a lot of services. They pollinate a lot of things.
Yeah.
They will eat a lot of pests, other things that we consider pests. Lady walking a dog there. Yeah. So they're really important, and other things. There must be other things that eat wasps. So they all have their place, and it's kind of we put our moralising or our kind of our code, or they're a nuisance to us, but they've got as much, if not more, right to be here than we do. So it's as much as possible. I try to go for live and let live. It's not always easy. When you get swamped by fruit flies in the house in the summer, that's really frustrating.
Horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't with them. I can't. This is so peaceful.
It's beautiful here.
You kind of forget that you're so close to a city.
I know. I mean, we've got an industrial estate right next to us, but you can't really hear anything from it.
No, it's ace.
So let's just stop and have a listen to the birds for a minute.
Yeah.
Wow.
What are you getting?
So there's quite a few chiff-chaff. Mm-hmm. And then further across, there's quite a lot of chatter, which I think it could be geese.
Oh, okay.
There's a crow just behind us. Crow, crow, crow. Robin over there again. There's quite a lot of chiff-chaff singing today, so it's quite warm when that breeze drops.
Yeah, it is.
We've got a beautiful load of gorse in flower in front of us. So this is yellow flowered, so again really spiky. Mm-hmm. So the spikes on that, they're actually adapted leaves, and it's evergreen. Mm-hmm. And it'll flower. I mean, it's more in flower now than it would be at other times of the year, but you get it in flower all the way through the year. So there's a kind of a saying that goes, when gorse is when gorse is in flower, kissing's in season, or it's the other way around, when gorse is out of flower, kissing's out of season. There's two versions of it, but it basically means the same thing. So because gorse flowers all year round, you can kiss all year round, which is quite romantic, isn't it? Yeah.
So poetic.
And this is the thing, that this is this connection again. I think when we look back, previous generations had much more of a deep-rooted connection with the land, with plants, understood, the healing benefits of certain plants. And that was very, we still use a lot of our medicines come from plants,
from products.
So aspirin from willow bark, and we're surrounded by willows here.
I didn't know that.
So salicylic acid, which is found in the bark of willow, that's basically the basis of aspirin. So there's all sorts of things that kind of come from plant basis, and lots of therapeutic complementary medicines, and they're just amazing. So
it's so important. So to wrap up, Ros, what would you recommend as 3 things people can look out for in their local park?
Oh wow, okay.
On the spot a little bit.
I would say just take some time. You don't have to know the species, but take some time to stop and listen to birdsong.
Yeah.
So, if you can find somewhere to just sit and particularly at this time of the year and into the summer months, and see if you can hear different songs. So how many different types of song can you hear? And, some of them might be different variations from the same species, that's fine. But just to note that variation. And I would say the same thing with plants and trees, is to just have a look at the different shapes and forms, the types of leaf, the colours.
So notice. So
really notice, and then it's find a way to kind of just stop and take a bit more time with something that that interests you. So, taking photographs, absolutely.
Yeah.
But one of the things I'm looking at the moment is green sketching, and I'm kind of going to get back into that myself. And it's sort of sitting and taking just 5 minutes, just a really small notebook with a pencil, and just do some observational sketches of something that interests you, and maybe take some notes about it as well.
Yeah.
How it made you feel. And that's the sort of thing then in the winter, if you're not able to get out so much, those are the sorts of things you can kind of look back on and still have that connection without having to go outside.
Because it'll take you back to that place.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fabulous. That's ace. And of course the readily available apps for birdsong and things like that as well.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Use those and, take it with a pinch of salt. It doesn't always work. There are certain species it struggles to identify between, but it gets you in there. It gets you starting to see that variety of names and species.
Open up a new world to
absolutely,
you. Fabulous. Well, thank you, Ros.
I
feel so
pleasure.
chill, and
great.
I just loved listening to the birds. I loved just the glow in your face when you thought, you recognise what it is, and connect with the robin and your little robin dance to mimic how he's attracting his ladies.
I didn't even realise I was doing that. Amazing.
I didn't catch that on video, but that was ace. Oh, thank you.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
And hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Yeah, great.
Fabulous. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I am so proud that I can now identify a chiffchaff when I'm out on a walk. And if that's the only bird I know for now, that is okay. I'm wearing that with pride. Ros, thank you so much for such a grounding and generous walk. Your knowledge, your calm energy, your enthusiasm, your excitement for the outdoors is just so infectious. And it made this walk just such a happy memory for me. If you're near Lancaster, I wholeheartedly recommend joining one of Ros's Wildlife Wellbeing Walks, and do be sure to check out the Wild Roots Nature Festival. It sounds excellent, and it's happening between the 13th and 15th of June 2025. A wonderful celebration of community and connection through nature. Thank you for listening, and if you've enjoyed this episode, please do make sure you like, share, subscribe, and check out all the other previous episodes and see what you like. And do feel free to let us know and engage with us on social media. We're available on LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Substack, and Blue Sky. So I hope to see you all soon. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep walking.